Hey everyone, welcome to Breakthrough Conversations. My name is Danielle Perry and I am the host. You already know, I'm excited that you're tuned in today for another episode. And if you are new, this is a podcast which features people of all ages, and they share a bit of their story about how God has helped them to overcome a difficult challenge, situation, or season in their lives, or maybe they're on their way to overcoming with God's help. Well, I am excited about this episode, y'all, because it features another youth. And I say it often, y'all, our youth have a voice, and I hope we're listening. Well, he's none other than Mr. Nehemiah Washington, and the title of this episode is Being the Eldest of 6 Boys. Yes. If you tuned in for the first and second episode of this podcast, those episodes actually featured his parents, his mom, who spoke from the perspective of being a mom of, at the time, 5 boys, and also his dad, who spoke from the perspective of being a father of 5 boys. Well, you already know since then, right, they have welcomed a new baby boy. And so I thought, you know what, let's have the eldest of them all just come on this podcast and talk a little bit about what it's like being the eldest brother. And Holden and Karina, your son is so comical, okay? Very comical. You already know this. You're his parents, right? But he's so comical, and I laughed the entire episode. But I also want to encourage you to keep raising your children the way that you are. You have raised a stellar young man. I watch him from afar and a little bit up close and unplugged. And he's just one who is, of course, very mature for his age. And he's really just a respectful, laid back, chill, intelligent young man. And I'm just excited to see what the future holds for him. And so without further ado, y'all, here it is, episode 22. I want you to enjoy. I want you to laugh. Trust me, you're going to laugh. And I want you to be blessed. He is none other than Mr. Nehemiah Washington. Hey, Nehemiah.
Hi, what's up?
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm well. Thank you. And thank you again for being on. I truly appreciate you just sharing a bit of your story with us, of your life with us. And so before we hop into the questions, I want you to introduce yourself and just tell a little bit of who you are.
All right, so like she said, my name's Nehemiah. Honestly, I'm just in a lot of nerdy stuff. Like I watch anime and I read comics and stuff. And I draw a lot because I want to be a graphic novelist when I get older. Okay. I'm trying to find a second thing to do, though, because I don't think they make a lot of money. But that's the main thing I want to do right now. Okay. That's cool. I didn't know that. Good stuff. Well, I have you on today, Nehemiah, to talk about being the oldest of 6 boys. And I thought about you because, one, I've observed you from afar and kind of up close to being an unplugged and all. And you just seem like a very well-mannered young man, a very respectable young man. And on top of that, you are the oldest of your siblings. And I thought, let's have a conversation about what it's like being the oldest brother of 6. So, yeah, we're going to get into that. I want you to first, though, tell your name again. And then I want you to explain what your name means. Okay, so my name's Nehemiah, and I looked it up. It means God comforts. And I read a little bit of Nehemiah in the past, so it kind of makes sense, the name and everything that happened in that book. And that's okay, got you. So you said you can kind of relate to who Nehemiah is in the Bible then. Okay, that's cool. And I think that's important because what I've read in the Bible about Nehemiah was that he was a builder. And when I think of you as an older sibling, I just think about, maybe you've had to take on some things where you've kind of had to do things as the starter of something because you're the oldest, right? So yeah, that's cool. So I want you to now name all of your siblings and their ages from the oldest to the youngest after you. Okay, so first with the second oldest, Ezra. He's 2 years younger than me. And after that is
Hold on, you got to give his age. Well, first give your age.
Okay, so I'm 14.
14.
My birthday passed on the 13th.
Okay.
And Ezra, he's 2 years younger than me. He's 12. His birthday passed on the 8th. And then there's Daniel. He's 9. Yeah, he's 9. His birthday passed January 11th. There's Levi. He's 7. His birthday passed in December 12th. Then there's Micah, who's 2. His birthday has not passed yet. Then there's Jeremiah, who's just born this November.
Yeah. Wow. And how many months is Jeremiah now?
Like 4 or 5.
4 or 5?
Yeah.
Somewhere in there.
Yeah. Somewhere.
Okay. Good stuff. So, in 3 words, Nehemiah, I want you to describe what is it like being the oldest in 3 words.
Okay. So, rewarding,
okay,
challenging, and irritating.
Okay. So explain each one.
Okay, I say rewarding because there are some benefits that come with being the oldest, like you get trusted with the most.
Okay.
I could never imagine my parents leaving and then telling one of my brothers to make sure I don't do anything.
Right.
And then there's other privileges I get to stay up longer because I'm older than them and stuff like that. I say challenging because I am the oldest, so I'm kind of the third parent, and I have to deal with all of that when they are not home.
Yeah.
And it's a lot because Micah cries, Levi's just really energetic and wild, and Daniel, he's energetic and it's too much sometimes.
It's too much sometimes.
And then I say irritating because I also get woken up out of my sleep because of all of those habits that they have. This morning I got woken up because Micah was crying. And it wasn't even over anything serious. So.
Right. So do you share a room with any of your brothers?
Yeah, I share a room with Ezra.
With Ezra. Okay. So no, you know what? We're not going into that yet. I'm gonna maybe ask that later on. So, okay. So you answered that question. What do you like most about being the oldest?
What do I like most about? I'd say, like I said earlier, it's rewarding. So, like, whenever I'm over my grandparents' house, and they always force everybody to go outside, but since I'm the old, and it's not like they let me do what I want, but I get more stuff because I'm the oldest. Like, yeah.
What do your brothers think about that?
I mean, they say it's unfair, but when you have to deal with all of that crying and being the peacemaker in every situation,
they'll be all right, pretty much. Got you. And you said being the peacemaker. Talk about that a little bit. What do you mean by that?
They're always arguing and fighting, and I always have to stop it. So, and it's crazy because they don't be arguing over anything serious. Like, they'll really get in a fight over toys, and I have to stop it and decide who gets the toy or just take it and make them do something else. Yeah.
So you got to be that one when mom and dad isn't maybe there in the vicinity. You're that one. Kind of said you like a third parent at times, right? We're going to talk about that a little bit more, too. Okay. So what do you like the least about being the oldest?
The responsibility. Because every time they do something, that I get looked at as if I did something because I'm the oldest.
Because you're the oldest.
And sometimes I'll have no idea what's going on, and I'll still get in trouble for it. So that's kind of irritating. That's why I said irritating earlier.
Yeah. So with Ezra being the second oldest, right, does he ever take any of the blame being the second oldest, or does it mostly fall on you?
He does occasionally, but that's only when he's involved in it.
Okay.
So most of the time it's me.
And most of the times it's you. And like you said, you don't even have to have anything to do with it.
Yeah.
But the responsibility will fall on you. Wow. Okay. So do you ever feel pressured? I guess this is a good follow-up question. Do you ever feel pressured or overwhelmed being the oldest?
Not necessarily. I don't feel pressured or overwhelmed. Because it feels like such a normal thing. I've been the oldest forever. And it's not like I'm not used to responsibility since I'm normally the responsible one in a lot of situations.
Okay.
So
not really much pressure there.
Yeah.
Okay. So what about your expectations from your parents? I mean, you kind of hit on, how you're at times the third parent. There's a lot of responsibility being the oldest. What are some of the expectations that your parents place on you being the oldest?
is make sure my brothers aren't doing anything irrational or dumb. Just make sure they out of trouble, and just make sure they safe. You know, regular stuff like that. Make sure they clean up after themselves.
Got stuff like that. Okay. Now, being that you have 5 brothers, right? Let's say you all are at the park or, just somewhere in public. Is it hard looking after 5 other people?
Normally it would be, but I find something that makes them all want to stay in one spot, so that I don't have to worry about that.
Okay, now give an example of that.
Like last year, not last year, but last summer when we were in Jamaica, right outside of the house that we were at, there was a playground. And there was a little seesaw. So I had everybody stand around, and we were just sitting on it to see who would fly up, and we just and taking turns and stuff and taking pictures.
Got you. So you have that kind of automatic creativity in mind when you know that you're all about to be in one place together. You're like quick thinking, like, okay, what's something that we can all do together so that everyone isn't so spaced out, pretty much. Got you. That's good. That's good. That's good. I want you to talk about, do you ever wonder what would life be like as a middle child, like a Daniel or Levi or even Ezra, right? Or the youngest? Do you ever wonder about that?
I do, but only about being the youngest, because I see they get off with a lot of things. And so I just wonder if the same thing will happen for me if I was the youngest and not the oldest.
Okay. Now, the youngest, meaning where does it kind of fall? Because Ezra is the second oldest. So are you talking about Daniel on down or Levi on down?
Daniel on down, because that's when that youngest effect started to actually, like, me and Ezra, we were whipped into shape, but the rest of them, I just...
You said y'all were whipped into shape?
Yeah.
What happened to the rest of them?
I just don't know. I think maybe they got soft as time went on. I don't know.
If you don't remind me of Holden right now, that is so funny. But okay, so you feel like after you and Ezra, Daniel on down, it's just like, come on, y'all, get it together. Like, what y'all doing?
Yeah.
And they just kind of get away with stuff at times.
Yeah, they do.
So give me an example of something that they get away with often.
Okay, so like I said, cleaning up after themselves. We all have selective areas that we're supposed to clean, and then on Saturdays, that's when we just clean up everything. They could, like, stay downstairs and make a mess in my area or Ezra's area.
Okay.
And then when my dad would get home, and we wouldn't be there because we would have cleaned it up before and then left. And we wouldn't be there to see them making the mess because, we'd be doing our own thing. Our parents could come home and see the mess and yell at us for it and not tell them to do anything. They'll just be moving around like they not even there.
Right.
And so we're like, but it was them. It was them. It's
right.
like, I don't care about none of that. Just clean up. It's like, okay, Dad.
Because you two are the oldest, they're expecting you to have that responsibility but you're supposed to tell them to clean up type thing, right? I got you. Okay, so what are some things that you teach your siblings?
I try my best to teach my siblings how to be well-mannered in public, because the loud and energetic personality they have inside the house, they could have in a restaurant, and it's too much because Levi and Micah be running around and I have to chase them. And so I try my best to make sure they have manners and stuff, tell them to say please and thank you. Okay,
that's good. That's good. And would you say you're more of the mild-mannered one?
What do you mean?
Like you said that at times they can be kind of like loud and running around, but I don't really see you as kind of the loud person. But I could be wrong because I don't live in your house. Your parents may say something completely different about you at home.
Compared to all of them, I am the most laid-back one.
Okay. Got you. Anything else that you teach them at all?
Not really. Just manners and stuff. I don't want them to go out and embarrass us.
Yeah. He said embarrass us. I love it, Nehemiah. And you're so serious right now. Got you. Okay. So how do you handle, speaking of seeing them like acting all wild in the restaurant and stuff, so when they're misbehaving, right? How do you handle seeing them misbehave as the older brother or the oldest brother? And is it difficult at times when you see them misbehaving?
It was difficult, and then I learned that I could just take matters into my own hands. I am the oldest, and as of right now, it's not like they can do anything.
Okay,
So
because they're all smaller, right?
exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So they're all acting up, and it wouldn't be my fault if their toy just went missing.
But
And
it would be your fault.
It would be, but they wouldn't know. And so there's consequences for stuff like that. And another thing, it's the manners thing is entirely important, because my mom could be having conversations and they're just in her face, mommy, 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 mommy.
Right.
And I'd be like, yo, just stop. Like Micah in church, he be so loud, and it's
he be so loud, Nehemiah. So I had another question for you, right? As the oldest brother, like when you see them misbehaving and different things, what is something that you do that makes them like perk up and they know they need to stop?
This is my favorite question. So most of the time they be playing, and so I just look at them and I tell them to stop playing with me, and they stop.
I love it. So that's all it takes.
That's all it
Stop
takes.
Playing with me, and they stop.
And sometimes they test the waters, and then they don't like the outcome.
So what's the outcome?
Sometimes it could be violence.
Uh-oh.
Although I try not to use that as much, but sometimes it could be violence. And other times, like I said, their things could go missing. Or I could just tell on them. I mean, I don't really like telling, but if that's what I have to do, then I'm going to just do it.
Which sibling challenges you the most, you would say?
Ezra and Levi.
Ezra and Levi.
Yes.
Okay. Explain.
Okay, so it's because Levi, he's just hard-headed, he's young, and he's loud.
Okay.
So he just doesn't listen. But Ezra, he's the second oldest. So the same way I look at him and say, stop playing with me, he's going to try to say it back.
He's going to try to challenge you. Right.
And that's why we argue, because he doesn't see it, but he's in the wrong most of the time. And I can't explain it to him without him, thinking that I'm just attacking him. So we're always arguing.
Yeah.
And then Levi, he just doesn't listen.
Okay.
He just doesn't listen.
And Levi's how old again?
7.
He's 7, so he's after Daniel.
It's funny because I was like completely opposite from him when I was 7.
Okay. How so?
Well, I was still quiet like I am now. I mean, I wasn't as him compared to me. I think we'd be good friends, but he's just so much different than I was.
Yeah, personalities, right? Personalities are different, even though you guys are brothers, right? Just different personalities. So I do kind of want to go back to the question of seeing them misbehave, right? Do you ever have moments as the oldest where you're like, man, like I really want y'all to know if y'all keep doing this, like you can get hurt, that kind of thing.
All the time.
Okay.
Just yesterday, me and Levi, since we were performing, we went outside and we were calling our parents to see where they were at. But they were still, my dad loves to talk. So they was upstairs and we was outside waiting. And Levi was the only one who knew where the car was at because I didn't leave the school.
Okay.
So I was like, all right, Levi, let's go to the car. And it's dark outside. He's running. He's too short to even notice the cars. He's too short for them to notice him.
Right.
He's just running around like, Levi, stop running. So he gets to the car and he's opening the door. And I'm like, that's why I told you to stop. They're not here yet.
Yeah.
And you know what he does? He turns around and starts running right back up the hill. And so I'm chasing him around. And it was funny now that I think about it. But at the time, it was irritating because there was cars everywhere.
Yeah. I can imagine that's challenging, because you're trying to, like, look, you can get hit by a car. Like, I'm trying to help you, right? And just other circumstances that may happen as, you may see them just kind of delving into other things or not paying attention, whatever it may be, you really want them to be safe, right? So, yeah, good stuff. Now, how do you distinguish? Now, this is going back to feeling like the third parent at times, right? How do you distinguish being the oldest sibling or the older brother, right, versus being their parents? How do you distinguish that?
Well, most of the time, I try to figure out how I'm gonna word the answer. Well, I can still level with them considering we're all kids and I am their brother. So, I'll be chilling with them. We be playing the game, watching shows, all stuff like that.
Right.
And then when it's time to be responsible, when my parents aren't here or when they're arguing about something, that's when I step in and I try to distinguish it that way.
Got you.
There's a clear difference from when I'm just being regular and when I'm actually trying to get them in place.
Right. I got you. Now, do you ever have younger brothers at times? Like, do any of them say, "Man, you're not dad"? Do you hear that every now and then?
They say that, and I tell them that I do not want to be their dad.
Okay.
Exactly what I tell them.
You're just like, look, I'm the older brother. I know that I have certain responsibilities. I'm trying to tell you things that are going to help you, right? That are helping you in this moment.
I tell them that their dad would have said the same thing.
Right.
They don't believe me, and then he does.
Yeah. Good stuff, Nehemiah. I want you to talk about a situation where maybe it was kind of difficult with a sibling or 2 or 3 siblings. That was maybe a breakthrough moment for you where God, like you really needed God's help. If there was ever a moment like that in your life with your siblings.
There's never really been a moment that serious. But
Okay.
There has been times where, even though the little brother effect is from Daniel down, Ezra is still the little brother.
Right.
So sometimes he could be in completely wrong, and just because I handled the situation bad, I'd be in trouble. And he likes to he's over dramatic and just likes to egg things on.
Okay.
So there's been times like that, but for the most part, no.
No. Now, do you have moments where you're kind of stressed out as the older brother and you're like, okay, God, I need your help because they're really getting on my nerves? Like, talk about maybe some things that you talk to God about when it comes to your siblings.
Most of the times, just how am I going to deal with them? Because those moments are mostly when we're in public areas and they're all doing too much.
Okay.
And it's like my mom has told them to stop multiple times and they're just not listening.
Yeah.
So it's times like that.
Yeah.
But then I don't want to because I'm trying to get them to stop, but I don't want to get too loud because then it's just I'm gonna be just as bad as them.
Right. Right. Now you're gonna meet them at their level where they are. Right. So when it comes to maybe some specific things that you pray for your siblings, what are some things that you pray for them?
That's a good question. I pray that they one day they get more mature than they already are.
Okay.
Obviously they're kids, so it's not like they're super immature for their age at least. But I hope that they don't end up as their level of maturity now, and that's not how it keeps going. I hope that they all mature as people.
Yeah.
And stuff.
Okay. So. Got you. Now, what about for yourself? What prayers do you ask? What do you pray about for yourself, being the oldest, or in general?
I pray that I have more patience with them because
Okay.
I've been working on that. A lot of the times, the problems, like I said, the problems aren't that serious, but because of how I handled it, it could get worse. So I pray for patience and stuff like that.
Pray for patience.
I'm working on it.
Yeah, that's good. Now, you said that, if you don't handle a situation, it can get worse. So talk about that. Is that kind of what you were saying, meeting them at their level? They're yelling, so now you're yelling, and now it's making the situation worse. Is that kind of what you're talking about? Okay. So have you ever wanted a sister?
Yes, I wanted a sister. I wanted all of them to be a girl.
Hold on. You wanted all your brothers to be sisters?
Not okay. When I didn't expect to have 5 younger brothers. But when I was younger, so around the time Ezra was born, I wasn't worried about that at all, having a brother or a sister. He was just there at that point until he learned how to talk, and then we was friends after that.
Right.
But from Daniel on down, I wanted a girl, and it just never happened.
Right.
And after Levi, I told them to just stop trying. We're not going to have a girl. I told them, and they didn't.
Okay. They didn't listen,
They didn't listen, so they tried for Micah. He was a boy. And I just told him, I told you so.
Right.
And after that, I was like, I don't know how many times I told them, no more.
No more.
It's over with. Because it's only adding more stress for me.
But they did it again.
And they did it again. And I remember the exact day. We were sitting, it was me and Ezra in our room. And our parents mysteriously left early in the morning. They don't usually do that.
Okay.
And then they came home, and my mom had papers in their hand. And Ezra's like, Mom, are those pregnant papers? And so I looked at him.
Papers.
I looked at him and I was like, Ezra, I know you did not just say that. For one, that's not what it's called, and they not having any more kids. And so my mom, who heard it, is outside silent. And we was like, wait, Mom, why are you quiet? And Dad starts laughing, and I got so sad.
Aww.
And we opened the door, and she showed us the pictures.
Oh, my gosh.
And then we stressed over a name pretty much until the baby was born.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
What were some of the names?
I wanted his name to be Josiah.
Okay.
There was a lot of names, but the most memorable one was Josiah. Then we just went with Jeremiah. I like Jeremiah more because I wanted to signal to them that has to be the last one since I'm Nehemiah and his name is Jeremiah. I hope they listen.
We'll see. Time will tell, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if a girl comes,
I mean, I'm gonna be happy, but I'm gonna be a grown man at that point.
so you won't really be able to see her grow up, be in the same house, that type of thing. I got you. Oh, yeah. Interesting. I'm sure the dynamics would have definitely been different had girls been in your house, right?
No, I don't want to be the only boy in an all-girls house.
Right.
But it would have been nice to have a sister.
Yeah. And your mom is the only girl in the house. Only female.
That must be tough for her.
Well, I know when I had her on the podcast, I asked her about that. And she said, I kind of grew up. I think she said she grew up liking like boy things, right? Like video games and different things like that. So she said that having sons, it was kind of like a natural thing for her as far as being used to that kind of environment, I guess. But of course she says that she has wanted a daughter. So yeah, interesting. What about qualities? Name a couple of qualities. I want you to go from Ezra all the way down to Jeremiah. Name one or two qualities about each of them.
Okay. So starting with Ezra, a quality he has is even though he'll like act like he doesn't like you, he hates you, he cares a lot. Mm-hmm. Like and it's most of the things that he'll do, it's not like malicious intent or anything like that. Mm-hmm. Like when we were at Sky Zone, we were playing basketball and he accidentally landed on my ankle. Mm-hmm. It was obviously an accident, but he asked me if I was okay like 7 times. Yeah. Like 2 seconds after he landed.
Right. Okay. So he's really soft at heart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's also very competitive.
Okay.
It's all misplaced though. He doesn't win. It's just always me.
I'm sure he would beg to differ.
He would, were here. But it wouldn't be true. But okay, now Daniel, he's just like me when I was his age. Okay. So I noticed he pays attention a lot.
Okay.
And he's very picky. He's very picky.
Picky how?
Like he wants everything a certain way. Like he's picky about what he wears, his food, everything.
Okay.
And he's one of the funniest ones that we got.
Really? See, I would have never known that because he seems very quiet at church.
Exactly. He's quiet. He's like me where he's quiet around people he doesn't talk to a lot.
Okay.
Or just in public in general. Mm-hmm. So in the family, me and him were the mannered ones, and then Ezra, Levi, and Micah. I don't know where it goes from there.
I can't with you, Nehemiah. Okay, so Daniel is picky and he's also funny. Mm-hmm. What about Levi?
Levi he's very caring, like very caring. He loves hugs, like just all of the above.
Okay.
But he's also tough. He's a tough little kid. Like he can do all of that and then wants to fight you right after it. I don't know how he switches so quickly.
I love it. Okay. Now, who's next? Micah.
Yeah, Micah. Mm-hmm. He's only 2, so we don't know all of his qualities yet. But I know that I don't know. I think he likes being around people. Okay. Like there's never a lot of times where he's just chilling by himself, obviously because he's a toddler, but also he seems like he enjoys being around people. He talks a lot. Mm-hmm. He's always laughing, and he'll be shy at first, but he's not afraid to like introduce himself to people and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. I've noticed that. Okay, now clearly Jeremiah is only a few months old, but do you have any thoughts of, I think he's gonna be like this? you know.
I think he's going to turn out like me or Daniel.
Okay.
For 2 reasons. One, he has the same hair type that I did when I was younger.
Okay.
So it'll probably look like me, which is a blessing for the entire family. And it's because when Daniel was his age, like when he was an infant, he used to cry a lot. Like, so much. And around the time when Jeremiah was first born, he cried like a lot too.
Okay.
He's chilling out now, and it's very ironic that he's just now starting to calm down when we start sending him to daycare and stuff.
Right.
So yeah, I think he's gonna turn out like that.
Okay. And speaking of your hair, you're so funny, Nehemiah. I remember when you were born, you had so much hair. Like, I don't know if it was when you were born, but I know that when I saw you, when your parents brought you to church,
I did have a lot of hair.
You had so much hair.
Yeah.
It was so adorable, though, and you're letting it grow again. Because I remember you had a lot of hair at some point a few years back, right? And then you cut it.
And then, so there was a few times when I cut it. So I remember I was growing it out when I was super young, and then my dad, he cut it down. Okay. So it's I mean, I noticed though, like a lot of black kids, black boys, they always had that low cut. So I mean, I guess I just had to have that. But after that, I grew it out and I had a high top.
Yeah, I remember that.
Eventually, it got to the point where that was literally all my confidence. And so my mom told me that she wanted me to cut it because it was out of style. And my dad, he didn't say a word. And I just finding out like last year that he also wanted me to cut it because that was everything. Okay. And so he said he wanted me to find my confidence in other places. So he cut it down again. And then I grew it out. And then I cut it during the summer because it was like super hot and my hair only made it worse. And here's why. If my hair would be a lot longer, right? Okay. But my barber, great barber, he asked me how much I wanted off the top, and I did not know what that meant at all. So I just said a lot, and he took me low. And it took me like 3 haircuts to realize what he meant. Right. If I said a little bit, I was still going low. So I just said I don't want nothing off the top.
Nothing. I learned my lesson.
Yes. Ever since then, I just been growing it.
You've been growing it. Okay. Do you want to get like, you've had braids before, like twists or twists, right? Yeah. Is there any other hairstyle you eventually want?
I want to try out braids, cornrows. I want to try out a lot of stuff, but I just don't want to try it out during school because if it does look bad, everybody's going to notice it. And it's a relatively small school and everybody knows me, so I can't.
So you can't mess it up. No. Yeah, you can't. Maybe summertime, right? Yeah. I love it. So what about some good qualities about yourself? What are some things that you really like about yourself?
I noticed that I catch on quickly to a lot of things in video games, things that I'm learning, just regular stuff in general. I can catch on pretty quickly. I'm very, what's the word? Hold on, give me a second. I notice little things. That's what I was meant to say. Yeah. Okay. I don't know the word for that, but I'm meaning to say that I pay attention.
Very observant.
Yeah, observant. And most people wouldn't, because I do daydream a lot. Like sometimes my head just be blank, and people notice that. But they could also notice that I know like regular, like it's just weird. I notice like little twitches that people might have.
Oh, okay. So, you're that observant. Okay.
Yeah, I'm pretty observant. But I mean, I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it's a good thing to be observant. And
yeah, absolutely. And it's interesting you say that. I think I'm a very observant person as well. I also grew up I was a quiet person and pretty reserved. Still think I'm kind of that way, although I kind of have come out of my shell quite a bit. But yeah, I would say I was very observant as well, and I think I still am. So something we have in common, Nehemiah. I want you to name some areas of improvement, and it can be in general or even as an older sibling.
Okay. Areas of improvement, I think my work habits and patience. I'm still working on that, but I remember at some point it didn't take a lot to irritate me, and I'm working on it. It's going well. Like a lot of things that happens, I just take a deep breath. I just say you got it, and I just keep it pushing.
Okay.
I say work habits because even though I still pass and I still like I get good grades, I'm not failing or anything like that. I'll say that I'm gonna study or do such and such, and then not do it, and I still don't know how I make it with that. And I know at some point it's probably gonna stop working.
Yeah.
So I just gotta work on that.
Would you say that's kind of procrastination?
Yeah, procrastination. Yeah, has to work.
Got you. Okay. It's good that you're aware of those things, right? So you know what to work on. So that's good. Is there a particular age of your siblings that drives you crazy? And I put in parentheses for this question, like if they're a newborn because they cry all the time. Like, is there a particular age for you?
It's when they're an infant. I like it when they're toddlers. So when they're Micah's age, that's in my opinion that's the prime. That's what's having kids is all about.
Why is that the prime?
Because that's when they actually like they walking and stuff. They're talking. They're funny. They're cool to hang around. They still don't listen, but it's to an extent.
Okay.
And they're just cool.
Okay.
I don't like the infants at all, only because they can't do anything.
Okay.
And their only way of communication is crying. I understand that's why they cry so much.
Right.
I just can't take it. And they just sit there. I can't have fun with an infant like I could have fun with a toddler.
Okay. Got you. Now, when they are an infant, right? Is your sleep disturbed a lot at night?
It did when I was younger.
Okay.
But I've trained myself to sleep through the crying.
Okay.
And our room isn't far from our parents, but we don't have thin walls, and it's 2 rooms down.
Okay,
well,
good.
Technically 1 because my brother's and then theirs.
Okay.
But yeah.
Okay, good. That's good. What about relating to your siblings? Now you're 14, right? Do you find it difficult relating to them at your age because maybe you feel like so much more mature than them?
It's not difficult relating to them.
Okay.
Because even though we have vastly different personalities, I still see myself in them.
Okay.
And so we can connect on a lot of things, like I said earlier, like shows we watch, video games we play, random things that happen at school. Considering we all go to the same school, and most of the teachers I've had. So yeah.
Good stuff. And something else I was going to ask you was, what is the commonality that you would say you and all of your siblings have?
None of us, what's the word? It's perseverance. None of us, we don't give up easily.
Okay.
Like,
that's good.
And that's another reason why we sometimes argue is because none of us wants to give up in the argument or just things like that.
Right.
And also why it bothers me because they don't give up in pretty much anything. If my mom's having a conversation, they'll just keep on saying, mommy, mom, like, just wait.
Just wait.
Yeah.
Perseverance. That's a very good quality to have. Now, would you say there's a sibling or two that reminds you the most of you?
Daniel.
Okay.
Because, like I said earlier, he looks like me when I was his age. He talks like me, just like me. We enjoy the same things. I inspired him to draw, and he draws a lot better than I did when I was his age.
Okay.
So I'm excited to see how that will turn out. We are into the same nerdy style of video games.
Okay.
So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Now, what other siblings are most alike to you?
I think Levi and Micah are alike a lot. It's just because when Levi was Micah's age, he was pretty much like he was.
Okay.
You know, loud and energetic and jumping and always smiling and stuff like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool stuff. Now, you talked a little bit earlier about how just it can be loud at home and just loud in general and different things, right? Talk about, what do you do to find quiet? Do you ever have alone time to yourself?
I do, actually, because, okay, so there's my room. Since me and Ezra were the 2 oldest, we, for the most part, we just be in our room chilling.
Okay.
So that's always quiet, you know, besides him having the TV on and stuff. And then Because we have my PlayStation in the basement, so I'll go down there and play, and I've pretty much trained them that when I'm downstairs in the basement, they're not. Exactly.
Okay.
So
what's the thing you said earlier that you say to them?
I just tell them to stop playing with me, and they do.
I love it. So your PS5 time is your time alone.
Yes.
Good stuff. And I know you need that as the oldest, right? Like you need that time alone. So that's good. That's good. Now, what are some things that your parents have taught you throughout the years as far as just being a young man or just as being the oldest? What would you say are some lessons they've taught you?
One thing they've taught me, I heard the phrase from a teacher, just bite the bullet, like just let it go sometimes. Like I said, I've been working on it because sometimes it's just not that serious. And so they taught me to just let it go.
That's good. That's good. Just let stuff go. Yeah. And I imagine, too, as the oldest, like you were saying, sometimes your brothers can really get on your nerves, right?
Yeah.
But then you realize, you know what? It's not even that big. Yeah. They're kids, right? Like you said, like they're younger than you. They're smaller than you. So you have to learn how to kind of just let it go. That's good. That's good. Now, I want you to talk about something that you do as a family. You and all of your brothers, your mom and your dad. What are some fun things you do as a family?
Well, vacations. Like I said, we were in Jamaica, and we went down to Virginia to see my dad's family. So vacations and stuff.
Okay.
And then movies. So like the Thor: Love and Thunder movie. We all went and saw that. We all saw Avatar.
Okay.
And we're definitely gonna see the new Spider-Man movie coming out.
Okay.
So yeah, we'll do like activities like that, like going to restaurants and stuff, birthday parties, regular things.
Okay. Good stuff. Good stuff. What's one of your favorite things to do with your family?
Go to the movies because it's a lot of people, and that's like one of the rare moments where my brothers are actually quiet. I've never had to tell them to chill in a movie
in the movies,
theater. Yeah. So that's good.
Okay. Good stuff. Good stuff. Now, when you get married one day, Nehemiah, let's say 10 years down the line, 24 years old, right? 24. You found this beautiful young lady. She's a Christian. She loves you. You love her. When you get married, how many children do you want?
I only want two. I only want two, and I want them to be 1 year apart.
Okay, explain.
Okay, so I want a girl. I want a girl, but I'm only gonna try twice because that was my parents' mistake. They just kept trying and trying and trying, and now there's so many of us. And, yeah,
just two, huh? Just
two. And I have bad luck, so I feel like I'm gonna be with a woman who wants more than just two, and I'm just gonna have to go along with it. But for the most part, I want either two boys, one younger, one older by 1 year, or I want a girl and a boy, and I want the girl to be older by 1 year because I notice a lot, like the older brothers are always super protective over their sisters and stuff, and the dad is always super protective. But I'm not gonna be like that, I'm gonna just let her do her own thing.
Okay.
And I don't want the brother to be like that. So if she's older, she can still establish what I'm doing, like stop playing with me. So, but what I don't want is two girls. That's what I don't want.
Why not?
Because then I'm gonna be the only boy in the house, and it's just gonna be too much. I know my money is gonna be spent a lot more than it would be if I had boys.
What makes you say that, Nehemiah?
Because I noticed my mom always has something from Amazon every day of the week. And some things she doesn't even open. There's Amazon boxes in her room that has been unopened.
Karina, he just put you out there.
There's millions of hair products that I'd have to get, makeup, lip gloss, everything. It would be too much.
It's too much.
And I don't like the smell of nail polish at all. And I know that I'd have to deal with that. And if there's 3 girls in the house at the same time doing that, no, I just can't. I can't take it.
Now, what's going to happen is 10 years from now, or whenever you get married, we're going to look back at this and we're going to see if you held true to what you just said.
We'll see.
I I love it. I love it. Well, Nehemiah, this has been a wonderful, wonderful conversation. I know that your parents are going to crack up, your siblings, and I imagine anyone who watches this will crack up. But before we end, I want you to maybe encourage some other siblings out there who are the oldest. What would be some advice, some wisdom that you have for them?
Don't give up on them. You know, they can be hard to deal with, but at the end of the day, like I said, y'all are family. And, you know, even though my parents tell me this all the time at the wrong times, and it irritates me when they say it, you know, at some point they're going to be all you have. And so, you know, you just got to treat them right. There's a lot of broken up families because of the relationships between their brother and stuff like that. Obviously, speaking from all boys' perspective, you know, be brother, sister and brother, sister and sister, you know. But yeah, just don't give up on them. Try to keep that bond, because there will be a time when that's all you have. You know, parents aren't here forever, so, you know.
Wow, yeah. That's good. That's good advice. And would you say that you and your brothers have a really good bond with each other?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Well, y'all heard it. From Mr. Nehemiah, who's 14, who I forget all the time that he's only 14 because he's very mature for his age. And I know a lot of that comes from being the oldest.
Yeah.
And just keep doing what you do, Nehemiah. Actually, I do want to ask you another question. You're going to the 9th grade next school year, right? And you said something. You already know what you want to be when you grow up. And what was that again?
I want to be a graphic novelist. So, you know, they make comics, basically.
Okay.
And I also eventually want to have my own show. But, you know, you got to start at the graphic novels and hope that it blows up. But I already have a lot of ideas. I got character designs, the world map. I have everything that I think that somebody would need. I just have to have the story. And I've been doing this since I was about 7. I got a bunch of sketchbooks. If that's one thing I spend my parents' money on, is sketchbooks.
Okay.
And art supplies.
Okay. That's cool.
Yeah.
I didn't know you were so much into art. You'll have to show us some of your artwork. I don't think we've ever seen any. Now that I think about it. We'll have to see some. So a graphic, I'm sorry, say it again.
A graphic novelist.
A graphic novelist. And so that's one that, do they just draw or do they write the comics too?
They write the comics and they draw, but there's people like editors and stuff and other people who work with the storyline. But considering I know what I want with the storyline, I'm probably not going to have a lot of those. I'll probably be my own editor, but I do work with one of my friends, so we're kind of like our own editors in a sense.
Okay.
So, yeah.
That's cool. I like that. So one last question. We were supposed to end a couple minutes ago, right? But one last question for you. For all of those who are watching that may be around your age, you are a Christian, right? I want you to explain the importance of being a Christian and who God means or what God means to you.
Okay, the importance of being a Christian is just inviting people into Christianity as well. I've noticed, like, just from seeing things online and in person, our religion is one of the most hated ever, just because of how we treat each other. I think it's about kindness. Like, we need to be kind to each other and more inviting. Like, a good example is, I call her Gigi, but Miss Lily.
Lily.
She's like, when I think of a Christian, I think of her.
Okay.
That's how we should all be. She's just kind and she's really inspiring. I think that we should all, you know, be nice to each other. I feel like if we took more of a kinder approach than because it sounds more forceful when some of us say it, and I think we need to take a step back and check ourselves before we check others. Because there are going to be moments when we have to be like that, but the problem is we can't be like that to people who've never been introduced to it.
Wow, that's good. That's a mature response, Nehemiah. Now, what about what is God or God to you? Who is God to you, and how much does having God in your life mean to you?
Well, it means a lot. I mean, you know, having the Creator, the most powerful ever, love you like a son. Well, you are a son, obviously, but it's a lot, and it's a flex, definitely.
Okay.
And I just, when I think of him, I just think of love. I mean, he's kind. There's a lot of people, including ourselves, you know, we're sinners. We do things we shouldn't. And normally he should give us the worst punishment ever. But the fact that we're having this conversation just shows love and forgiveness.
Yes.
So,
yes. I love that, Nehemiah. I love that. Absolutely. Well, again, as I end again, thank you again, Nehemiah, for being on. I truly appreciate it. I can't wait to hear the encouragement and the laughter that's going to come after people see this episode. I know they're going to have a great time. So was there anything else, though, that you wanted to say before we end? You good? All right. So thank you, everyone, for tuning in today. I know that you all had a great time. I know I did. So I want you to like this episode. I want you to share it with someone. I want you to leave a comment just letting us know something that stood out to you. And if you haven't yet, go ahead and subscribe to the channel, Breakthrough Conversations. In the meantime, everyone, have a wonderful day and be blessed.